Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Rebellious Wellness Lifestyle. Today, my guest is Cindy Dupuié, and she is a functional medicine practitioner you had degrees before that were more the Western medical model. And the reason that you got into functional medicine was personal, as it so often is for people that find their path, right? So can you
Yes.
tell us, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
why don't you just tell people the story?
Okay. So I got my degree in dietetics and food administration many moons ago and didn't do anything with it. So I didn't go on to get my RD. So I didn't become a registered dietitian. I got sidetracked with having a family and actually working with my husband at the time in the used car business. So
Well, then, here's a detour for you.
that was a little bit of a detour, but I actually found out that I was really good with numbers. And so anyway, I was on that detour for a long time. And then when I was 43, life blew up and I was going through a divorce and very stressful time. My digestive system totally rebelled. That's my weak spot anyway. But I think with stress, it just basically shut down. The other thing that happened is that a lot of women are in perimenopause for 3, 4, 5, it can be as much as 10 years. And I went from 1 month and then I was in menopause the next month. And I
Wow.
think that's what it seemed like anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure it was that.
I didn't go through a lot of different things a lot of women do, but I think what happened is I lost a lot of weight during that time too. And I became so thin that my body just couldn't make the hormones it needed to. And I think it was my effort to control my environment that
Makes
felt
sense.
that felt very out of control. The fact that my digestive system really was rebelling, I was having a hard time. I was very stressed, very anxious. How much of that was my situation? How much of that was possibly because of hormones? I don't really know because I really didn't know that much back then. But what ended up happening is I took a pause and said, I really love the human body. I still do. I always have. I'm fascinated by it because it is just an amazing machine. And I thought, what could I do to get back into the human body? And I happened to go to a lecture on nutrition and Dr. Mark Hyman's book.
I have them all on the shelf still.
Okay, and the Ultimate Metabolism was sitting there, and I went, okay, I'm going to get that book. And I did, and it became my Bible, basically. It took everything in there. I just went, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And I started to coach some clients. I also became a yoga instructor at that point in time. I had students, and you build a reputation or build a relationship. And I was helping some of them. And I was looking up something because something I didn't know about this particular client. Like, what do I do? How do I help? And I found the Institute of Functional Medicine was giving their 6-day course. It was on applying functional medicine in the medical situation. I forget the exact name of it. But anyway, it was in Pasadena, which is in California,
Close.
which is 50 miles away from where I was living. And I said, I've got to go to this. And so I did. And when you go to something like that, you sit with the same person for the whole week. There happened to be a naturopath from Canada that was sitting next to me. And when we got to the area of digestion, we started talking a little bit. And I had actually had a functional stool test done by a doctor that I had gone to. Okay. So I was lucky to be able to find a doctor who was able to do that. But unfortunately, and I've learned that this happens, that doctors, practitioners, I don't care who they are, will look at what is in front of them, whether it's lab work, a scan, whatever it is, with their knowledge and maybe with their bias of what they're looking for. So she missed out on a lot of stuff that was valuable information. But this naturopath said, do you have your test? I said, yeah. So I brought it the next day and she was able to go boom.
Wow.
Okay. That these were all the things that I could work on. So anyway, that started everything. And then I just continued on the path of trying to learn, probably like you, as much as I possibly can, as quickly as I possibly can. And then you go through that imposter stage too.
Gosh, yeah.
Who am I? But I realized that people were coming to me because they weren't getting help from their doctors. And I thought, okay, I know this much more than their doctor. I can help. I've been doing that for about 20 to 23 years. And I moved into the space of helping women through perimenopause and menopause about 5 to 7 years ago. And the reason being is that I was watching my contemporaries and I was watching my own clients who I know how my own clients eat. I know their lifestyle. I know that they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing, but yet we're losing ground. We were still having osteoporosis and metabolic issues and weight gain. I'm going, okay, I think I need to pay attention here and learn as much as I can about hormone replacement therapy, because I think it's a big part for a lot of women. Of course, it's an individual thing.
Right.
I want them to know what their options are, what their risks are, what the benefits are, and be able to guide them. I see myself as an advocate, as a second opinion, and as a guide and an educator. Okay, if I can educate my clients either individually or through courses, what they need, how to ask and why, and how to ask for it and be advocates for themselves, I can't be any happier than that. So that's the path that I've been on.
I love it. And what I heard in what you just finished with was advocate. You're an adjunct. You're a part of I always say still takes a village.
It does.
And so you can be that other voice, that second opinion, that person who maybe brings knowledge that the doctor didn't have. Because as you said in one of your blog posts, it's not that doctors don't want to do this extra stuff, read these extra labs. They're not familiar with what to do with the information once they get it. They're not getting this education a functional medicine doctor does when they're in med school. So we do need more than one voice, I would say.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We do. And I would say even people who are educated, sometimes we need another voice, because sometimes it's intimidating when something is going on, is wrong with us, and a doctor says, okay, you need to do this and this. It's intimidating. Even for me, sometimes I go, I'll respond a certain way. I'll go, okay, wait a minute, Cindy. Step back. But I'm surprised too that even some of the regular stuff, how many times do I ask my clients to go ask their doctors for a DEXA scan? And they're 63, 64, and even 65, and they haven't had one. It's like silly to me, silly things like that I have to step in and go guide them that way. Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was on your blog post. I was reading something about how common vitamin D testing isn't.
That was on my blog post. Yeah.
Okay. So in the old days, my doctor could always, because I have a functional medicine doctor, luckily, he would always put it in as my once a year, part of my once a year. Then insurance, when I had insurance versus Medicare, they stopped paying for it.
Yes.
And then it was about $129. And since my levels are generally year to year,
$29?
year over year, they were good. My doctor said, we'll do it every second year or something. Then when I got on Medicare, they said they didn't want to pay for it, but they always pay for it anyway. So
They
I don't know
do.
what has changed.
I know there was a short period with Medicare where they weren't doing it. And I think they finally realized that maybe we should put that one back in.
I almost feel like there was a Medicare report, because I'm on some newsletter, where they talked about, was it about immunity? And they recognize the importance of optimal vitamin D levels for people to resist all of these bugs, flus, CRVs, SRVs, whatever they are.
I don't know if it came back in around COVID, because that was big with COVID too. They realized that people who had adequate levels of vitamin D, it was a huge difference in recovery. Yeah.
Now, what do you consider an optimal level? I'm just curious.
I like to see between lowest would be 50, which is definitely higher than what the range is on the labs, and up to 80 or 90.
Yeah. I had a friend who, unfortunately, she passed away, but when she was in treatment for cancer, I forget what kind of cancer, she had a fabulous team. And the first thing they did for her when she started treatment was they tested her vitamin D levels and found that it was ridiculously low. So they were giving her vitamin D in increments day after day to help.
Yeah.
Now, she may have had a gene, there's a gene VDR where you can't absorb vitamin D. I don't know what happened, but I was thrilled that this hospital in Florida, this oncology thing, I was like, oh, thank God they're giving a chance.
Yeah. People are learning.
Yeah. So I know that labs are a big thing in your practice, and I love to hear that. I actually have a report that I'm going to revitalize for January on the labs that you need after 50 and the ones I think labs or procedures that you can probably skip and do every other year kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was interested to read your thing, but I'm curious about, I didn't see a category for cardiac health. It might be there within something else. But do you do that, like a VAP test or anything like that? A VAP panel?
And when you're talking about a VAP panel, you're talking about the different types of
Like
LDLs
particles and cholesterol.
particles and things like that. I've gotten away from it. You're right.
I
You
didn't know
see
whether
it.
it was too, do we really need that information?
You know what? I don't really know if we really need that information, but I'll tell you. Where I'm coming from is, yes, I think we do need to have something a little bit more than the lipid panel, although we do hang our hats way too much on cholesterol. And I know you agree with me on that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to cholesterol, I do think it's worthwhile and needed to do a lipid panel. Yeah, we do need to do that. But I like to see lipoprotein B as well and A as well. I like to throw that in there. Yeah. P, ALP, AP.
APOB?
Yeah. No, A, no. Particle A, which is more of the risk factor. It's okay, we might have the risk factor, but what are we going to do with that, right? We'd be doing everything else that we need to be doing. I am more concerned about inflammatory markers and our metabolic markers than I am about cholesterol, because that is what drives heart disease. We have been treating our whole population with statins for years and years to help reduce heart attacks and cardiovascular disease for what? I don't know, 30, 40 years. And the thing is, it's still the number one killer.
Yeah, I know. It's run the numbers, people. It's not working.
So as far as lab work, I really do concentrate a lot more on the inflammatory markers and metabolic markers like insulin. And as far as inflammatory markers, I look at sed rate, I look at HRCRP, homocysteine, and then ferritin as well, which ferritin is a marker for iron stores, but it's also a marker of inflammation, especially something that's going on right now.
I didn't know that, and I get my iron tested regularly because I have hemochromatosis.
Okay.
So for people not familiar, it's the opposite of low iron. I store too much iron. My body doesn't process it out as well as
you have to give iron sometimes.
I have to give blood about every 2 months. Give blood. Yeah, I know what you meant. But anyway, I didn't realize that ferritin on its own is a good number to test for inflammation. I didn't realize it was.
Usually it's more immediate, you know?
Okay.
So if someone's had an infection, in fact, here again, when you're looking at lab work, and I've had a client that came to me and her ferritin levels were elevated. I had her go have her iron panel done because she was extremely tired. And I said, I'm going through everything. Something's not right here. So she had the iron panel done. It came back. She was really low in iron. The reason why the ferritin was up was because she had just been hospitalized for something that happened. I think she had a little virus. And the doctor did not connect the dots. So he didn't want to put her on iron. So this is another thing doctors don't do. They don't look at the history of the patient and they don't connect the dots within the lab work so too often.
You're going to laugh at this. When speaking to somebody who is pretty much steeped in the Western medical model, perhaps a professional in that world, and I mentioned functional medicine something, and he said, yeah, functional medicine, they want to look at the whole body. Like, they don't get that that's why we specialize. And I didn't know what to say. I just said, yeah, they do look at the whole body. And is that not an idea that makes some sense somewhere in your brain? This is a friend. I can speak to him this way. And he said, but like, how do you really take stock of the whole body all at once? Anyway,
it's not easy.
It isn't, but it is a practice that has proven to be helpful for many people. I just put it that way.
I'm going to say something derogatory.
Please.
Okay. And I may not be correct in this, so if I'm not, someone let me know. Because I don't think I've spoken it out loud in this type of venue where a lot of people can listen to it. But I feel that a lot of doctors are really good rote learners. Okay, so they learn something, they can follow the instruction, they can spit it back out. Those are your great medical students, I think, for the most part. Okay. Functional medicine, you have to be a person that loves to dig, that loves to connect dots, and you are going to push back. If you hear something, you're going to go, okay, wait a minute. I have to look at this to see if it all makes sense. So you are never satisfied with what is status quo, which is, or what's right in front of you. You always dig and you love doing it.
So you're a detective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love that idea. And I think that depending on your disease, because it generally happens when you have a disease and it's confounding people, then you get those people that are willing to dig. And I'm talking about the Western medical model. You might at some point get specialists that have to do a lot of piecing things together, but your average everyday once a year visit is going to be pretty much, oh, you're in the range of everything. Good.
Exactly. And they don't
but I feel like crap.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's because especially we women of a certain age are so used to hearing it's what happens at your age.
Yeah.
We don't like that.
No, because
I also have this question is, what is your age? Like, is there one age at which point everything starts to happen? Of course not. Everybody's completely different and on their own timeline. Even perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
There's like a 30-year window where you could have early menopause, perimenopause, or late. It's crazy.
It is crazy. We are all individual. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God. Let's talk about bones, shall we?
Okay.
The importance of bones. I think everybody listening knows how important their bones are, and they've heard that we lose bone as we age and that we should take care of our bones. And there's a doctor that I love, Dr. Doug Lucas. He is a bone guy. You must know Doug. You got to be rucking. You got to be jumping off 18-inch platforms. You got to do that. And I love that idea for those people that want to go that route. I'm not going to put a 30-pound pack on my back and do my 4-mile hike. I'm just not. I like my 10-pound weighted vest, but I'm not going to go there for you, Doug. And I'm not jumping off a platform. So what do you say to people that don't want to do that extreme kind of exercise for their bones?
I do like Doug Lucas very much. And I do listen to him. And I didn't know he was that hardcore.
I've interviewed him a few times.
I was listening to one of them. I was listening to, I thought, dang, you got some good people on here, Greg.
And now I have you.
And I was impressed. So, no, I am not for this hardcore there. Okay. And some women can't do that, right? Because if they've had significant bone loss, let's say in the spine in particular, you really do have to be a little bit more careful on how much load you put on the spine. And so as far as physical activity is concerned, when it comes to osteoporosis, I do think stepping up, maybe a 1 or 2 step stair and going up and down from that is really good. That's a really good load. I do think walking is really good. Maybe using bands instead of really heavy weights is something very good that people can do in their homes. You can do a lot of stuff in your homes. I hate going to the gym. Absolutely hate it. And there's a lot of the people that are like me. So you have to set up your environment so you can do 15 minutes at least 4 times a week, okay? Depending on where your numbers are. And maybe you need a little bit more than that. But you can set something up, and I don't think it has to be extreme. I think it does need to be consistent. I do think that. And I think when we take the extremity away, I'm not an extreme person in anything that I do. I have a lot of fire, but I'm pretty the road about a lot of things. And I just think it's easier and more reasonable for people to accept that and to people embark on something new. So consistency and putting a load on is good. Working our big muscle groups, our quads, our glutes, doing some squats, using some bands is great. I think working on our balance, super important, because you work those twitch muscles, which hold things. And balance is really important when it comes to not falling. The bone density is too as well. So the muscles support things, the bone twitch, the balance, that's all really important. So what do you do for balance? I'm a yoga girl. I love yoga. Not everyone is.
Right.
So you can do Tai Chi. You can do so many other different things where you're balancing on one leg. And if it's really hard for you to balance on one leg, a chair, a wall, you can do a lunge backwards. 2 steps, lunge backwards, hold on a chair until you get better and better where you can do that lunge, okay? Without holding on to anything. So you start where you're at and you don't kill yourself. So that's
Good
one
advice.
thing.
Thank you, Cindy. Don't kill yourself.
It doesn't work. You're not going to keep on doing it.
No, you're not. What about a jump rope? Does that count because you're pounding?
Yeah, it counts. Yeah, a little rebounder again. But if you have a lot of bone loss in your spine, you're not going to want to do that.
No.
Okay, you're not going to want to do that. But if your spine looks pretty good, right? Maybe it doesn't have any bone loss or doesn't have any, maybe even osteopenia, you're still okay with your spine jumping. But jump rope is great. A little rebounder is great. A vibration plate, putting it on maybe low if you have a lot of bone loss and slowly, gradually bringing it up. So any of those where your muscles, your bones have to respond is good.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you were surprised that somebody who was in her 60s had never been asked to take get a DEXA scan. So I would say that's pretty basic in terms of what, over 50 we should start getting DEXAs? What?
I would say ideally, and depending on a person's genetics, and genetics does play a pretty big role in osteoporosis. It does. So we have to look at that and listen to that. And of course, lifestyle, diet, everything else. But I would say even in perimenopause would be great to get a baseline. And then definitely 50, 55, you would definitely want to start tracking it. I'll tell you, I got a DEXA scan for the first time. I'm 67 and a half, okay, this year. I had to ask for it. Well, can I have one? And it came back where when one hip was moving towards osteopenia, tiny, just work. I'm still livid and angry when I even talk about this. It was a phone consultation. I didn't like this doctor before, but okay. She wanted to put me on a biphosphonate.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Which to me is malpractice.
Yeah.
At that point in time,
At
that point in time, it's malpractice because you can only be on a biphosphonate for 5 years. And then you had to be taken off. And then what do? It can cause digestive issues, which...
Yeah, that's your weak spot.
That's my weak spot. No, we don't want to do this. She didn't talk about diet. She said, of course, take more calcium. I was like, really? And she didn't mention diet. She didn't mention exercise. She didn't ask about my family history. She didn't go, it's just, it's wow. How many other people are given that type of protocol, and it breaks my heart.
Because of the side effects of those drugs.
Side effects, and there's no reason. There's absolutely no reason. Yeah. So that's what happened to me. So that's when I think I got on the bone health wagon. Wait a minute. How to educate people? No. So there is.
No, I was going to ask if you thought a trabecular bone score was important because it measures something different than density.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. And not all labs where you would get your DEXA scan has that ability to do that, but you can call around, and some don't, and I would choose the one that does. Yes, because bone density is not the whole story. We can have dense bones, but still have brittle bones, and that's where the TB does come into play. So yes, I do think that's important.
I learned that many years. Actually, I think it was my first podcast. I interviewed a woman who was a bone expert, but not a doctor, a certified functional medicine person, but a coach. And I never forgot that. And nobody has ever mentioned it since. But Dr. Lucas did. But when I've talked about bones with other people, it never comes up. And I just remembered it. I was like, I never got one yet, but
I haven't either. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Me too.
I think it's important, especially for a woman who is moving into osteoporosis and she is worried and she's concerned. I think that's really important. So you can really get a better idea doing 2 blood tests. Okay. Have you heard about a CTX and a P1NP?
Nope.
Okay. So let me talk about that.
Yes,
I think that's really important. And I haven't had either one done yet. I'm not really concerned about my bones, to be honest with you. So the CTX looks at your the rate of bone breakdown. So it looks at the osteoclast, the rate of the bone breakdown, and the P1NP looks at the osteoblast function, and that's your building up. It's what builds up the bones. So keeping track of both of those, I think, is really important. Like, I can order labs for my clients, and the lab that I use doesn't do the P1NP, it does the other one. But if a woman is moving into osteoporosis or even at later stages of osteopenia, and they're just curious to see what the bone breakdown is versus the bone buildup, I think that is something that they need to have in their pockets. And it's something that, as let's say you've moved into eating differently or moving differently, and perhaps improved magnesium, vitamin D levels, and maybe even started on HRT. If you want to see how that's affecting your bone much quicker than a DEXA, you can look at those two markers to see how those are being affected. And you can do that every 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so Quest, I'm thinking, is the lab that you use. So they do the one, but not the other.
Actually, Quest does both. It's just
okay.
I'll order it from mine. And there are other, I know Ulta does it. I'm surprised at how much they charge, really, a little bit. And Ulta's usually pretty reasonable, but I was a little bit surprised at some of the prices out there. Yeah, I was. But if I had osteoporosis, you should be able to get, if you have osteoporosis, you should be able to get your provider to order that for you and have it covered. So ask for that.
Yeah.
What else would I do with bone? Protein's really big. Yes, it is. To help build that bone, that muscle mass. And I have my little darling vegans that come in, and I love you dearly.
You're in the right place. I always said I cannot coach a vegan. I don't know how to keep you healthy.
If you're healthy, I'll leave you alone. But more power to you. And I have this one darling. She's tiny. She's your typical osteoporosis
prone person. Yeah.
Prone person, which is little tiny, the whole bit. And she does have osteoporosis in her family. So it's okay. We have to pay attention to this. And she eats probably the best of the vegans I've ever seen. Okay. Now, she's not willing to put the meat back in, but she's willing to go on hormones. She's willing to start lifting some weights. That's fine.
That's great.
Let's just see if that is enough for us. I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah, getting enough protein is super important. Reducing inflammation is important. Reducing anxiety. Anxiety pulls our minerals out of our bones. So it's my little anxious ones. And so calming the system down. And then I've mentioned HRT a couple times.
So please tell us about HRT, your opinion on HRT.
HRT, when it comes to bones specifically, is interesting because that's one of the few things that the FDA has approved HRT for. It's bone loss. Oh. Yes. It's actually approved by the FDA. There is not one woman that's ever come into my clinic who has been given HRT for bone loss.
I didn't even know it was, considering how much trouble we had getting the black box warning off of the HRT.
Yeah, it's not surprising. It's unfortunate. Yes, the FDA approved it in the 1980s. So about 20 years before the Women's Health Initiative study, that wonderful study that changed everything for over 2 decades.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. And so doctors knew about that back then. And then the biphosphonates really came out and came on board, even though they were hanging out around there, in 2003, right after the hormones took a hit with the WHI study. So that's when, remember, Sally Fields was promoting Boniva? We're aging ourselves here. But Sally Fields was the promoter for that, and that is a bisphosphonate. And that's when those really came on board, and HRT, estradiol, really took a hit. Now, estradiol, what that will do is that helps to slow down the breakdown, the osteoclast of the bone. So that's basically where estrogen works with that. Reduces inflammation all over, too. And then testosterone, it's an anabolic, right? Steroid. So anabolic steroid will build things up. So that actually works on the osteoblasts. So we can have two different things going on at the same time. And progesterone, she's always our little sidekick. She does a little bit of both. She's the one in the background, but she's important too. So progesterone will help with that too. And so if I have a client that comes in, and I do have a client right now, we're really struggling with the osteoporosis. Actually, I think we've arrested it. Have we turned it around as much as we want to? No. And I don't think her estrogen levels are up high enough. We want to see levels somewhere between, serum levels somewhere between 50 on up to 100 to really be effective when it comes to bone loss. And she did start testosterone. I don't know if it's enough yet. I think about 6 months ago. So we are watching that. And her doctor did do a CTX. We haven't done the PNP1, P1 and P yet. But so I do look closely at hormones and using hormone replacement therapy when it comes to bone. HRT, and there are studies, it's more effective than biphosphonates a lot.
Now, what about people that have an estrogen dependent cancer, post cancer? I've been told that they have a greater risk of bone loss because of the treatments and the cancer. I don't know.
Yes, that is very,
so
very
then
true.
they are frequently put on these biphosphonates.
They are. This is going to open up a whole nother thing.
We don't have to go there. I was just curious about your opinion. If you've had anybody in your practice in that
I do have
situation,
people in my practice who are concerned. They are concerned about that. And I try to do everything in my power to teach, right? And to move them into doing all the lifestyle and dietary things that they can do and see how far we can get with that. It is appropriate to do biphosphonates at certain times.
Yeah,
definitely. It is well to do a stopgap as we're doing other things as well. There is that. Some women actually use tamoxifen, and actually that can help, believe it or not. It's the catch-22. There's a whole, I'm just going to mention this just because I think it's valuable. There's a lot of work in the UK right now going on, which is really exciting when it comes to cancer and hormone-dependent cancers and the use of HRT after. It's very exciting. And they're actually getting funding for a huge study.
Oh, cool.
A randomized trial study.
All right.
Which we haven't had. And I don't know how long it's going to take to get off. I think they're close to getting it off the ground. Now, it's going to take some time to get the data, to do things with it. There's also something, so I'm going a little sideways, but I just think it's important because I think so many of these women who have had cancer are left in the dust and don't get the support that they need. And there is a paper that was just put out by Sarah, Glynne, and I can even send it to you. You can put it in your show notes. And I don't really feel like I can talk intelligently about this so much, which is probably why I shouldn't have brought it up. Other than they've looked at many different studies, meta-analysis, but done it in a different way. They also brought together many different doctors from oncology to OBGYNs from different school practices, and they gave them questions on whether or not they would whether it's safe to give HRT to certain types of women having certain types of cancer. And they went through the whole different thing, and it's very interesting. I think it was a council of 12 doctors. So anyway, it's just giving women, knowing that they have some options and opening up a discussion.
Exactly why we're here. That's all I want, is for people to know that they have options and to find a place where the conversation is being had within a safe scientific realm and outside. So you're bringing in the science from Western medicine, and that's important. And I don't want anybody to ever hear me say Western medicine as though it's a bad thing. It's not.
No.
It's just imperfect.
Yes, and limited.
And I was going to say, and not always exactly what we need. There are two doctors that I follow on Instagram whose names I won't remember. Both are female, and both are cancer survivors who prescribe and take HRT.
Dr.
Corinne Men.
Right.
She, and then there's a woman with dark hair who I think she could be East Asian. I don't remember. But anyway,
Okay.
Corinne, I get her newsletter. I want to get one of these people on to talk about it. And if you know anybody, you can send them my way.
I know. Hey, you're pretty good at getting people on your show, though. So I'm pretty impressed. So I think you might get Dr. Men. There's another person. She's not a doctor, but she's from the UK and she's got a wonderful podcast. She's a lovely interviewer. And it's Menopause After Cancer is the name of the show. And
Okay.
it's DANI, Danny Bennington.
Okay.
And she's got a great group, a support group that she has put together, but she's the one that I got a lot of this information off of. I go into her every once in a while and I glean something that are just pearls.
I have to say that these women, I haven't met or seen any men that are talking about the same subject. That's why I'm leaving it to women. It's courageous to be out there on social media saying what they're saying if you think about the state of the world and how accepting we are to out of the box ideas. Not. So I honor them for doing that because so many women, like you said, they're left out in the cold. They're going to miss out on all the benefits of HRT when in fact it may not be contraindicated for their particular kind of cancer or their body, their immune system.
Yeah.
Do you know Erin Keneally, Dr. Erin Keneally? She's another one who's, she's got all kinds of stuff to help with cancer prevention, coming out of cancer, off of cancer drugs. Yeah. So
I got one more for you.
Yeah.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
Jen, Jenn Simmons, SIMMON. She is, I got her book here, The Smart Woman's Guide to Breast Cancer. She used to be a breast surgeon. She is no longer a breast surgeon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Then, what haven't we talked about that you want to talk about, that you want to leave the women with?
I would like to talk about, could I talk about the course that I'm giving?
Please do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this is very exciting for me. I launched a course. It's called Grace in Transition for Women of a Certain Age. And our maiden voyage was back in September. And the next one coming up is February 2nd, I think is when it starts. And it's an 8-week course. And it's a course that I put together. It is online. It's a culmination of everything I've done my whole life, right? I've done other courses but put it together for women. And it is designed to teach, to guide, to support, to help transform a woman's life, really her health, her life, give her the foundations that she needs and the support that she needs, the community that she needs to send her on her way. I'm still holding a community after the course is done, but it's 8 weeks and we have 8 different modules and I talk about everything about women of a certain age. It includes our diet, our lifestyle, our lab work, hormones, the risks, the benefits. I talk about bones, I talk about cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's. And we talk about environmental toxins and gut health and how menopause hits every single organ and tissue in our body and what end is up. Yeah, that's something I'm very excited about. And I'm looking forward to starting a new session. And if somebody wants to sign up we can't register for it yet, but you can go to my website, which is livingbalance.net, and go to hormone course and you can sign up for the wait list. And then once I open registration, you'll be notified. So you can find out about the course, see if it makes any sense to you or not. If you have questions, you can make an appointment with me. But yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think those are great. I love running a group course because it's so much more than you think it's going to be. You, the instructor, we know that it's going to be great, but then you do it and you're like, I'm blown away every week by people and what they share, what they bring, how willing they are to be vulnerable. And Yeah. So
it feeds me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you guys to sign up for me.
It's all about you, Cindy.
It's all about me.
I want to mention something else that you offer on your website, which I think I'll get right, but correct me if I'm wrong. There are 3 levels of working with you. And it's like, you need a lot, you need a little, you're good, but you want to check in. And it's in terms of your health. So there are labs, there's consultations with you, but I like the idea that you're giving. It's not, some people like myself, I'm healthy, thank God, I feel good. I get a weird lab thing. My doctor's not going to say anything about it. Or he'll say, let's test again in 6 months. That might be the kind of thing where the smallest package to work with you. Does that sound like something that would be right?
Yes. And I even have a smaller one than that. And so I'm just putting that out there. If what on there maybe isn't quite what you're looking for, that would be the time to schedule an introductory 20-minute call with me. There's a little tab there to do that with. Probably, and I don't think I have that on there. Probably the simplest one would be the lab and supplement review. And that would be the easiest entry point, would be that. And I look at what you eat too. It's pretty complete. But yeah,
I will not let you look at what I eat, okay?
I'm not food.
I'm a food health, right? Like healthy person, love to eat. But the big joke years forever is that I like a good chicken wing. I'm just going to say it.
Somewhere. And whether you're thinking, and I love that. It's like, who wants to be perfect?
And what even is perfect?
I don't know.
My labs are good. And I actually haven't had a chicken wing in a really long time just because I haven't felt like it. I'm sure I do. Tonight we're going out. Maybe it has to be a chicken wing kind of night. But I think that if people get, like, your living balance, if people get the idea of balance, and call it 80-20, call it 50, whatever you need to do to get to your health, optimal health. And again, optimal is the word here, people. It's not just healthy. According to the labs, you're in range, right? Because some of the ranges are so low that it's crazy. Like we talked about vitamin D. Yeah. We could talk about other ones, but that's another podcast episode. So whatever it takes for you to get there. And if you do need support, this is why I have people like Cindy on. For those of you listening, I don't do all these things. The experts that I have on have offers that could make a big difference in somebody's life. And if you're listening and you feel like, I just got my blood work back, I feel like crap, but my doctor says I'm fine, take a look at Cindy's site. Maybe that's the place to start, is with a second opinion, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Okay, so again, the website is livingbalance.net. And there's good stuff there. There's recipes, tons and tons of recipes for healthy food.
Yeah.
And blogs and all kinds of good stuff. So hop on over if you have any questions for this kind of work to see if Cindy's a fit for you. Cindy, thank you so much for your expertise, for a good time. I enjoyed our conversation.
I did too as well. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
And for what you do.
Oh, thanks. Peeps, I'll be back next week with another fabulous guest, and be well till then.